Hello everyone. Friendship is a truly precious bond. Some friends come into our lives, helping us experience joy, sharing in our ups and downs, and offering support without any strings attached. However, just as there are good friends, there are also bad ones. The situation becomes even worse when a bad friend disguises themselves as a good one. One who quietly stands by you to build absolute trust while secretly plotting harm against you. Cases arising from such toxic friendships are not uncommon. And the case we present today is a perfect example. The discovery of 4 human skeletons in 2 strange pits in the Mojave Desert, California, will certainly make you reflect deeply on the nature of friendship. How did the police uncover the culprit? San Bernardino is a county in California, and it is the largest county in the United States by area, covering more than 20,000 square miles. With a population of over 2 million people, it is one of the most ethnically and culturally diverse regions in the state. The county's economy relies primarily on services, industry, and agriculture, with major sectors including logistics, healthcare, education, and tourism. The terrain varies greatly, from the Mojave Desert in the east to the San Bernardino Mountains in the west. The Mojave Desert, a large desert stretching across California, Utah, Nevada, and Arizona, covers about 57,000 square kilometers. The area experiences extreme temperature fluctuations between day and night, with very cold winters. Its landscape includes both high mountains and deep valleys, creating a breathtaking natural environment that has become a haven for explorers and adventurers. On Monday, November 11th, 2013, a man was riding his motorcycle through the Mojave Desert. He turned onto a secluded dirt road, intending to cut through to Victorville. Along the way, he noticed 2 unusual pits beside some bushes. Curious about the unexpected appearance of these pits, he approached and discovered a large amount of bones, some buried deeply underground. Initially, he thought they were the remains of wild animals. Finding animal bones in the desert is not uncommon. However, when he dug one of the pits, a human skull emerged, causing him great alarm. He marked the location and called the police. Upon receiving the report, the police quickly arrived at the scene and began their investigation. They found a total of 4 skeletons in the 2 pits, 2 adults and 2 children. The adults were a man and a woman, approximately 40 years old, while the children were boys around 3 to 4 years old. All the victims had head injuries. In the pits, the police also found a black backpack, a diaper, and a woman's bra stained with blood. Additionally, they discovered a hammer with blood on it, which they believed to be the murder weapon, but no fingerprints of the perpetrator were found. Nearby, the police discovered a deep indentation in the ground, possibly left by the perpetrator, and it appeared to be quite old. 2 days later, through DNA comparison, the police identified the 4 victims as the McStay family: Joseph McStay, 44, his wife Summer McStay, 43, and their 2 sons, Johnny 4, and Joseph Jr. The family had been missing for 3 years. Joseph McStay, before his death, was a cheerful person who enjoyed surfing. He ran a water feature construction business. With his sincere and reliable work attitude, Joseph attracted many customers and partners, leading to a successful career and a prosperous family life. Joseph had previously been in an unsuccessful marriage and had a son from that relationship, who was raised by his grandparents after the divorce. In 2007, at age 37, Joseph met and fell in love with Summer, a real estate agent. That same year, the couple married and decided to settle in San Clemente, California, a region known for its Spanish-style architecture and proximity to the Pacific Ocean. Not long after, they had 2 lovely sons, Johnny and Joseph Jr. 3 years into their marriage, Joseph and Summer saved up enough to purchase a 2-story house in Fallbrook, San Diego County, valued at $320,000. The house, built on a hillside, offered a beautiful, picturesque, and peaceful natural setting. The family of 4 began their new life there. On a Saturday in February 2010, Charles Merritt, a close friend and subcontractor for Joseph's company, visited the McStay home. Recently, he and Joseph had been discussing a collaborative project. However, Charles had been unable to contact Joseph for several days, so he decided to check in person. When he arrived, no one answered the door, so he went around to the backyard and found two dogs that appeared to be very hungry, probably having not been fed for some time. After searching in vain, Charles went to Joseph's mother's house, where she also hadn't seen her son recently. Charles grew increasingly worried and asked Joseph's mother to inform him if she heard any news about Joseph. 5 days later, still without any news from Joseph, Charles contacted Joseph's mother again, who also expressed her anxiety and revealed that the family had reported the disappearance to the local police. But the police had conducted only a cursory check. That afternoon, Charles and Joseph's siblings went to the McStay house to investigate. They found a window left slightly open and entered through it. Inside, they discovered several pairs of sandals left behind, a half-eaten apple, eggshells, scattered food on the dining table, and 2 bowls of popcorn in the living room. The upstairs bathroom was clean but lacked towels. In the master bedroom, there was a suitcase containing clothes, and the car was missing. All these signs indicated that the house had been recently vacated. They reported their findings to the police, who then obtained a search warrant with the family's consent. When the police officers arrived at the scene, they thoroughly cleaned and examined the McStay residence. They used luminol spray to detect hidden blood stains. However, contrary to their expectations, they found no blood and no other suspicious signs. With these clues, the police speculated that the McStay family might have moved to another location without notifying anyone. The police then interrogated Charles, who was the first to discover Joseph's disappearance. Charles said he was both a close friend and business partner of Joseph. On February 4th, the two had met to discuss a joint project, spending about an hour and a half at a restaurant before parting ways. Around 6 p.m. that evening, Joseph called Charles to continue discussing project details. At 8:28 p.m., Joseph called again, but Charles, who was at the movies with his girlfriend, couldn't answer and planned to return the call the next day. However, when Charles called back, Joseph's phone was unreachable. Based on these clues, the police estimated that the McStay family went missing on February 4th. Credit card records showed that around 2:36 p.m. that day, Summer purchased items such as a beach bag, children's pajamas, and a coat at a store in Vista, 28 kilometers from their home. The McStay family's computer records indicated that around 3:52 p.m., someone accessed a children's toy website, and around 4:25 p.m., a call was made to Joseph's mobile phone. Between 5 o'clock and 5:47 p.m., Joseph and Summer exchanged text messages, and Summer also called her sister during this time. Based on this information, the police believe something happened to the Joseph family that day. During their investigation, they discovered a nearby neighbor had a security camera installed, and with permission, they reviewed the footage from that day. Around 7:47 p.m., a white 1996 Toyota Camry was seen leaving the Joseph residence. However, due to the camera angle and video quality, the police could not identify who was in the car. They traced the vehicle and found that it had appeared in the parking lot of a shopping center in St. Isidore on February 8th, about 110 kilometers from the Joseph home. Upon visiting the scene, the police spoke with a security guard who remembered the car being parked there between 5:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. on February 8th. The parking spot was not ideal, and no one was seen driving the car away. The security cameras did not capture information about the car's owner, so the management called a tow truck to move it. The police then found a white 50 cubic centimeters Suzuki motorcycle in the car, still intact, with 2 child safety seats and some toys inside. Although the police found the Joseph family's car, they could not determine their exact location between February 4th and February 8th. The car was discovered near the U.S.-Mexico border, a location where many people stop to travel to Mexico due to relatively simple immigration procedures. After reviewing the security camera footage, the police identified 4 figures, 2 adults and 2 children. moving toward Mexico on the evening of February 8th, which seemed to resemble the Joseph family. However, the video quality was poor, so the police could not confirm whether these individuals were indeed the Joseph family. Additionally, the police discovered that 7 days before the family's disappearance, they had used their home computer to search for information on travel procedures to Mexico. They also searched for information in Spanish, which is Mexico's official language. It appeared that the family intended to travel to Mexico on January 31st. Joseph held a small party at home to celebrate his son's 3rd birthday. On February 3rd, a friend of Joseph's came over to help him paint the walls. That evening, Joseph's wife, Summer, purchased some toys online. Based on these clues, the police believed that the 4 people in the surveillance video were the Joseph family, who had left the U.S. to travel to Mexico without informing anyone and intended to return soon, but might have encountered problems in Mexico. However, the Joseph family disagreed with this conclusion. Joseph's parents stated he had asthma and rarely traveled far. They also noted that the man in the video did not resemble Joseph, being shorter and heavier. Joseph's mother mentioned that Joseph had a child from a previous marriage, whom she was caring for, so if they traveled, Joseph would definitely bring the child along. Summer's family also opposed the police's conclusion, arguing that Summer and Joseph did not speak Spanish. Moreover, Summer's passport had long expired and had not been renewed. However, at that time, American citizens could still use other documents to enter Mexico. The police examined Joseph's personal bank account, finding over $100,000. But no new transactions occurred after the disappearance. 3 months after the incident, with no news of Joseph, the police and the Joseph family traveled to Mexico to search. They distributed flyers along the U.S.-Mexico border, hoping someone would provide information about Joseph. A restaurant employee reported seeing 2 adults with 2 children who resembled the Joseph family. He remembered that one of the children had a birthmark on his forehead, which matched Joseph's youngest son. However, with such limited clues, the case remained a mystery. The mysterious disappearance of the McStays family attracted media attention, including from host Rick Beck, who was very interested in the case and conducted extensive research and interviews with the Joseph family. Rick discovered that Joseph's wife, Summer, had a habit of using aliases and providing inaccurate age information. Records showed that prior to the incident, Joseph and Summer had had heated arguments about Joseph's child from a previous marriage. Summer had also sent Joseph angry emails. Based on these findings, Rick wrote a book detailing the McStays family's mysterious disappearance, suggesting that Summer, out of resentment, had killed her husband Joseph and fled to Mexico with their 2 young children. However, Joseph's family disagreed with this theory. Joseph's close friend Charles supported it, stating that Summer frequently called Joseph when they went out to inquire about his whereabouts. Joseph had also complained to Charles about Summer's jealousy, noting that she would become very upset if he interacted with others outside the family. On one occasion, while Charles was at Joseph's house fixing a washing machine and eating pizza, he used his hands instead of utensils. Summer scolded him loudly, saying it would spoil the children, but Joseph remained silent and did not defend his friend. Charles believed that despite Summer's bad temper, Joseph loved her very much and always endured her behavior after arguments. However, this was merely speculation without concrete evidence. Due to a lack of new leads, the police closed the investigation 3 years later, concluding that the Joseph family had traveled to Mexico and then disappeared. On November 11, 2013, the same day, a motorcyclist discovered the Joseph family's bodies in the Mojave Desert. The police announced that the 4 deceased were indeed the missing Joseph family. Host Rick Beck realized the error in his reasoning, decided to stop selling his book, and apologized to the Joseph family. The case was then upgraded to a murder investigation rather than just a disappearance. The police increased their efforts and began a new investigation. After the Joseph family went missing, the police looked into Joseph's company's debts and discovered numerous transactions exceeding $20,000 between February 5th and 8th, all withdrawn using counterfeit checks. When investigating the individuals who withdrew the money, the police were shocked to find that it was Charles, Joseph's close friend and business partner, who was the first to report the family's disappearance. Charles Merritt, born in 1957, was 56 years old and worked as a welder. Joseph owned a fountain construction company that frequently required welding services, and Charles was always responsible for this work. After Joseph's family went missing, police suspected Charles because he was the last person to have been in contact with Joseph. Charles had a criminal record for theft. In 2001, he was sentenced to 6 months in prison for stealing welding and drilling equipment valued at $32,000. After Joseph's family disappeared, police interrogated Charles. He answered the psychologist's questions fluently and eventually passed the police's test. Shortly after the disappearance, someone asked Joseph's father if Charles could be responsible. Joseph's father responded, "I trust Charles. I trust my son. I don't believe Charles is involved in this. I sincerely hope that's not the case." Now, based on clues related to withdrawals from the company's account, police reopened their investigation into Charles. Over the past 3 years, Charles had been in Los Angeles and Victorville, locations near the crime scene in the desert. It was also discovered that Charles had lived in a place just over 14 kilometers from the crime scene. On February 6th, 2 days after Joseph's family went missing, Charles's phone signal was detected near the crime scene, and he made 5 calls from there. Charles was a gambling addict and owed a substantial amount of money due to this addiction. He had borrowed $30,000 from Joseph to pay off his gambling debts. After Joseph's disappearance, he stole money from Joseph's company account and spent it at major casinos. Not long after, he lost all that money. Police found a vehicle near the crime scene with scratches that matched the tires on Charles's car. With these clues, the police immediately summoned Charles for questioning. When asked if he had been in the Mojave Desert on February 6th, Charles denied it but couldn't explain why his phone signal had been there. Nevertheless, Charles maintained his innocence and claimed he had nothing to do with the case. 2 months after the discovery of the 4 victims' bodies, the police began monitoring Charles and paying close attention to his actions. Charles continued to assert his innocence and believed the police were severely affecting his life. A year after the discovery of the 4 bodies, police conducted a comprehensive examination of the white Suzuki found near the Mexico border. They collected DNA from the steering wheel and gear shift, which, when compared, was confirmed to belong to Charles. 2 days later, based on this crucial DNA evidence, Charles was arrested. He faced 4 counts of first-degree murder. Before the official trial, Charles continuously changed lawyers, switching to 5 different ones over the years. The trial preparation was also repeatedly delayed for various reasons. On January 7th, 2019, the case went to trial. The prosecution argued that Charles used a hammer to attack the Joseph family and then cleaned up the crime scene. 2 days later, he drove to the desert to dispose of the family's bodies, supported by Charles's phone signal being detected there. Joseph's vehicle was found near the border, among many cars that had been parked for a long time, raising no suspicion. In Joseph's vehicle, police also found Charles's DNA. The Joseph family had not traveled to Mexico. The surveillance images were of people who merely resembled them. All this evidence pointed to Charles as the perpetrator, motivated by money. After 5 months of a lengthy trial, the jury reached a verdict, and the court sentenced Charles Merritt to death for the heinous crimes he committed. Charles was imprisoned at San Quentin State Prison, California's oldest prison, known for housing many dangerous criminals. In 2020, Charles was executed, ending his life of crime. Throughout the investigation, Charles maintained the image of a good friend, and Joseph's father had never suspected that his son's longtime friend could be the perpetrator. The case highlights that no matter how close people may be, there is always a part of them that can overshadow their humanity. When that darker side prevails, they are capable of forgetting all favors and shared memories, potentially harming those they once cared for. That concludes today's video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for your time, and see you in the next video.